Growth and generosity aren't a one-way journey, they're a loop. A dance with the waves that calls us to keep exploring, serving, and evolving. Think about this stage as finally docking in a vibrant new harbor after a long voyage. So how can you support or mentor somebody who's just beginning? Maybe that's somebody you're bringing in. Maybe it's somebody else who wants to do what you're doing and you have a generous heart to help them get started, because there is no competition. Let me say that a little louder. There is no competition. Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your guide on this journey to success. We will explore the inspiring stories of visionary leaders and groundbreaking entrepreneurs and unveil the tools and strategies that can empower you to manage your business from anywhere in the world. Join me, LeAnn, as we learn, laugh, and take the leap towards unleashing your joyful business journey. And let's make it happen now. So you've charted your course, anchored your readiness, committed and launched, adapted and weathered storms along the way. But what happens next? How do you take what you've learned, not just to how to grow your business, but how to grow yourself, your impact, and maybe become a guide for others? Today, on this special episode, let's explore the grow and guide forward stage of the sailing system, where your journey becomes a legacy and your growth creates ripples that reach far beyond you. This is the fifth and final episode in our current 5-part sailing system series. If you'd like to catch up on any of the previous stages or get the full overview, you can always go back to episode 22 of this season for a deep dive into the entire framework. Today, we are exploring the final step. Caveat word on the word final. How to grow and guide forward, the letter G in the word sailing. Expanding your impact, supporting others, and taking everything you've learned to create lasting change in your business, life, and community. As with every episode, my hope is that these insights meet you exactly where you are or where you hope to be one day and help spark even greater growth on your journey. If you'd like more resources or would like to connect further, my contact information is, as always, below. So let's set sail into this new chapter together. So the letter G, here's the definition: grow and guide forward. Expand your impact, scaling up, mentoring others, finding fresh opportunities, and leading with renewed energy and joy. This may look 1,000 different ways. No joke. And if 1,000 isn't enough, it could look 1,000,000 different ways. It can look as different as you need it to be. There is no one-size-fits-all definition of how you grow or how you guide forward or who you guide forward. It could be you, it could be employees, it could be your community. It's limitless. And that's what makes this so exciting. It's not a destination. It's not an ending. In many ways, it's the beginning again. We will cover this in the second half of today's episode. So welcome, listeners, to the final step of the sailing system. We've broke this down, SAILING system, and we've gone through, episode 1 was the full sailing overview. Then we went into the S and the A, which is about, getting ready, more internal. The I and the L, where L is where you're launching. I is kind of a soft launch, talking to people. And then let's see, SAILIN. IN is where you're getting out there, but you're finding out, what do you need to tweak? What do you need to turn? How do you navigate, what was unexpected? Because trust me, there's always unexpected. And now we are at G. But once again, this is not the end. This is actually just a new beginning. So no matter when you're joining this series, we are here for you whenever you need a compass again and again. So we're excited. Here we go. So what this step really means is that growth isn't just about business metrics. In fact, right now, as I'm recording, we just are in the middle of the Restart Your Business Summit. I do this 3 times a year. The next one will be in January, but right now is September of 2025. And yesterday we had somebody who came in and really gave us the business on business metrics. And it was a fabulous, fabulous overview of a lot of the numbers side of business that a lot of business owners like want to forget about. One of the things that really impacted me that he shared, however, is that in many cases business owners look at numbers and what they're looking at is the past. And they're not fully understanding how those numbers are also their future if they don't make changes. So, growth isn't just about business metrics, it's about expanding your confidence, your vision, and your reach. You do need to look at your numbers sometimes. And this is a great stage to do this at, often with some other guidance. So, this is a great time to connect with a mentor or a coach of some sort who can help you sort through your numbers, help you see what's happened, help you see where you could go, and make sure you really are understanding the metrics of your business. But guiding forward is also about turning your journey into support for others. Another one of our speakers, and I hesitate to say one of my favorite because all 8 speakers really I've grown to just adore just completely. But one of the speakers today, who's also been a dear friend now for many years, we met through business. And I even shared very vulnerably that when we switched from we talk because we are in business together, that the business organization we were part of, we were both leaving at the same time. And it took a little guts to really say, hey, can we still be friends? Can we still talk? And 4 years later, we talk every single week. We schedule talking every single week just so that we don't miss that opportunity to help and grow each other. And there's times when she's gone through things and I've gone through things and she's been there for me and I hope I've been there for her as well. I think so. I try. But mentoring others, being part of their lives, that's what this is part of. And when you have a business, oh, wait, what's that whole freedom and flexibility thing? The reason many people start a business, it's so that you can be there for other people. Anyway, I digress, but she mentioned today, going at it alone sometimes seems like just the best idea. After all, you can do it better. You can do it faster, right? That's me. I can do it better. I can do it faster. And I've made that mistake and I still make the mistake on occasion. In fact, even leading up to the summit, we moved our website and I ended up getting in there and getting dirty and moving things around and making things happen in part because I needed to move things along, but in part because I also needed to understand the new system. But now that I do understand the new system, I am so excited to turn this over and mentor and help other people learn the system so that they can take and do those parts better than me for the next summit in January. And so you do need to learn things. This is part of the whole thing, right? But it's great when you can get to a point of saying, great, now I'm ready to help you live out your dreams. So I have multiple people that I work with, and it's a joy to see them grow and develop, and they're helping me too. So I have somebody who does all of my graphics. I love my graphics. If you've liked any of the graphics that you've seen, they've all been the results of Shai's work. And she is just, I love what she does. But I've also brought in people who have helped me write emails and help me with content and making sure that things go out on time. And I have somebody now helping me with social media. Thank you, Lord, because whew, much as you might see me on social media, it's not what I love to spend a lot of time scheduling. I don't mind doing it. I don't mind creating things for it, but the actual getting out there scheduling and so I'm really grateful that I have somebody new helping with that. And you know what? These people are all grateful too. I just shout out to my entire team, Hannah, Hershey, Shai, and Diana, who are all putting all of this together. Really, truly, This is the team. And there's been others in the past that have contributed as well. Not to say that they didn't, but they really did help as well. And I'm grateful for them. And eventually sometimes it's time to move on. And that's okay too. That's part of the journey. So, guiding forward is about turning your journey into support for others, mentoring new entrepreneurs, sharing your lessons, lifting up your community, and the adventure continues. Even when you reach new levels, fresh winds will call you to explore, adapt, and give back. My previous episodes, I'm going to give you a few reflection prompts. So, again, you can do this on your phone, you can do this with a journal, however you want to do this, but I do encourage you take some time, write these down, pause this recording while you do it. Number one, where have you experienced real growth, personally or in your business, since starting your journey? Now, this is kind of the fun part, I think, of this because doesn't this kind of sound like where you started? And we'll get into that again, like I said, in the second half. But where have you experienced real growth, personally or in your business, since starting your journey? So if you are at this point of you've launched, you've done your whole thing, and you're here, that's great. But if you're dreaming about starting a business, eventually you're going to get to this point. So it's okay to daydream. When I get to the point of ready to expand or grow, ask your question, put yourself into your future and ask yourself this question. Again, I'll repeat it. When have you experienced real growth? What real growth do you expect that you will experience after starting your journey? Number two, what strengths or skills are you excited to use at the new level? Again, there's the phrase, I used it today earlier, another level, another devil, but there's also a lot of skills and abilities that come with starting a business. And so wherever you're at, even if you're at the beginning or maybe you already have, like I said, launched, what skills or strengths are you excited to continue to gain, or what have you gained that you're going to continue to use? Number three, how can you support or mentor somebody who's just beginning? Now, this is a fun one to think about because who is that person? Is it somebody that you're hiring to come into your business? I'll share a quick story with that. At one point in my former business with a manufacturing company, I was all of it. The social media, I wrote the blogs, I did all the social media posts, I did the graphics, I did it all. And it was quite frankly exhausting. So when we got to the point that I could hire an assistant just for me, that was exactly what I asked them to do. And I detailed it out like at 10:10 in the morning on Monday and Thursday, this is what happened. And on Tuesday, I had it all laid out. And what I didn't understand is that I wasn't hiring a mini me. I was hiring a perfectly competent, great person who was going to do things a little bit differently. And so it was a learning experience. I'm just telling you, if you can hire somebody in and they can do 80% of what you're doing the way you do it, that's incredibly high. And you allow a little bit for them to do things a little bit different and actually embrace it, because I learned the hard way that by letting go and letting things be done a little bit differently than I thought they should be, things got better. Things got better. So, how can you support or mentor somebody who's just beginning? Maybe that's somebody you're bringing in. Maybe it's somebody else who wants to do what you're doing and you have a generous heart to help them get started, because there is no competition. Let me say that a little louder. There is no competition. Even if you're a photographer and they're a photographer, it's okay to take another photographer under your wings and show them the ropes, because probably they have a different set of skills than you do. And you can't, even if you're both wedding photographers, you can't both photograph two different weddings at the same time. So it's good to have people out there. And so I just don't believe in competition that way. So maybe it's somebody doing the same thing you're doing. Maybe it's somebody doing completely something completely different. And working with me, I'm not trying to mold you into my business or say, "Hey, you need to do what I'm doing." If something I'm doing interests you, absolutely I'm going to show you what I do. But if what you have in mind to do is whatever it is, I just want to see you succeed. So, how can you support or mentor somebody who's just beginning? There's so many ways to do that. Think through who that might be and how you might be able to do that. And is that a way that you can grow and expand your business? Number 4, what do you want to see as far as growth next for yourself? Maybe it's growing your team. Maybe it's expanding. Maybe it's having multiple locations. Maybe it's doing more in your community because you have more income. How do you want to see your growth happen? And maybe it's more than one way, or maybe it's one way now, but you're already able to see in the future that growth will again expand in another way. Get excited about that. Number 5, what does legacy look like to you now? And I say now from the perspective of if you're here or if you're dreaming of being here someday. What does legacy look like to you? Write it down. Think about it a lot. Visualize it. I do. I do. And get that in your system and then allow it to change. Allow it to change because it will. I promise it will. But it's okay to let it change, but it's also great to have it in mind. And when you get to that point and you realize, wow, it's evolved a little bit, no problem. It'll be a good thing to look back on. And it's a story that you can tell. I thought it was going to go this way. It went this way instead. And I'm so grateful. So, what do you hope that others will say that they've learned from your journey? That's part of what does your legacy look like? And finally, as a journal prompt, in what ways could your next stage be about giving back? And again, can be interpreted so many ways. Maybe it's financial. That's where most people go with giving, but it could be time, it could be energy, it could be money. How do you want your giving to look like? If you've built your business to a point where maybe you can step back and need less time in the business and more time with people you mentor or in your community or with your family or on your own, all of that is completely wonderful and valid. So own that. So, some practical steps for this area are to scale up your marketing and outreach, ads, your partnerships. That scaling up is very much a normal part that many people consider at this stage. Expand your offerings or services. So, with Joyminder Consulting, there you go. I started out calling my business Joyminder Consulting. Now it's Joyminder LLC or Joyminder Solutions, but also changing who we serve. Right now, I am focusing on burned out teachers, hospitality workers, healthcare workers, real estate agents. Those are some areas that I have a lot of experience in. But can I imagine that there's other people that are burned out professionals, doctors, lawyers, dentists? Of course. Am I ready to serve everybody? Probably not yet. But can I see that being a potential in the future? 100%. You think about it. Actually, this just popped in my head, but it's kind of like the books, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, or Chicken Soup for the Soul. That's an even better example. First it was one book, and then it was Chicken Soup for the Soul for moms, Chicken Soup for the Soul for teens, Chicken Soup for the Soul for, and they've just gone on and on and on to be Chicken Soup for the Soul for a lot of different things. Well, could that be my future? I'd like to think so. So, expand your offerings or services is another practical step that you can do at this stage. Collaborate with other business owners. If you haven't gotten into networking yet, if you haven't joined groups of other individuals, this would be a great time to start building those relationships. Again, I'm going to refer to one of my speakers today. Actually, both of my speakers today in the summit talked about that, the need for fellowship. We're not meant to be alone. We don't do well in isolations. People don't do well in isolation. We need people. And in fact, some of the greatest collaborations come about when you get around other people. I'm going to share a story that just makes me happy. I met somebody one time who was
I think he's a children's, this is actually so long ago, but I think he was a children's book author, and the other person worked with children in some capacity in that they did like after school activities. I think that's who the two are. And I just introduced him. I didn't think anything about it. I was like, oh, you guys should meet. You have something in common. And totally forgot about it. It was several years later, one of them came back and said, I have been looking everywhere for you. I'm so glad I met up with you here today. We were at another networking event. And he said, that collaboration has meant we have reached X number of kids. We've done X number of dollars of business together and all these things. And I couldn't be happier. But that's the importance of community. You never know who you might be introduced to out in community. And it's my joy to make those introductions. In fact, even today, I made an introduction between an artist that I know and an event center that I know. I just met the event center person, I don't know, yesterday, maybe. No, it was Monday, 2 days ago, because I'm recording on Wednesday. And as a result of that conversation, I introduced her to four people, and now a fifth person that I think could be great collaborations as they're getting their event center off the ground. Oh, wait, what am I making any money off of this? No. I didn't charge a fee for this. These are just people I know. I want to see good done in the world. Yes, I have a business to run. Yes, I have ways to make money. But if we can just be out there doing good in the world, I know it comes back. And so collaborating with other business owners, get out, learn networking. In fact, one of my speakers today has a survey that you can fill out. I'm going to actually add this onto my website at some point where you can learn what is your networking style. I love this. So if as soon as I have it, I'll put it into the show notes below. Probably won't be right when it definitely won't be today when I launch this episode. But moving on, mentor or support other new entrepreneurs. I've really already talked about this, but in that collaborating with other people, start to learn to think outside the box. Learn how to mentor or support other people. When you have a flash of understanding, hey, this person needs to meet this person, just do it. And then celebrate your wins and milestones. When you hit certain stages, it's okay to take your foot off the gas for a minute. I run my business intentionally on a 4 month cycle, in part because I believe that doing the summits in January, May, and September make the most sense. But I do it the second or third, usually the third week of those months, so that I've got a little bit of time to do some follow up, and then I can actually take a little bit of a break. So I'm bringing in 3 breaks per year that I can plan on, that I can really kick back and not be pushing towards the next thing. And that's an important part as well. So celebrate your wins, celebrate your milestones. And, as you do get ready to expand, maybe just take a breath for a little bit of time before you do. Finally, invest in ongoing learning. Keep growing, keep learning, keep looking for whatever's next, new books, new opportunities to expand your knowledge. And I just never stop learning. I can't encourage you enough. Keep opening your mind to new ideas. As I wrap up this half, I just want to remind you, Joyminder exists because I realized that I was at a point of having accumulated so much knowledge and so much experience. And I realized that my desire to step back into my calling, my natural gifts of teaching and leadership, it was time for me to do this, to raise up new entrepreneurs and to encourage and to, lay out the path that people could follow. For instance, here's a true story from my past, and this is while I was still doing the manufacturing company. You hit rough patches. I think I've shared this before. At times, we drove Uber in order to make ends meet. We had to do it sometimes. But there was so much blessing in that as well. And I remember one young man especially who was in my car, and he said, wow, what, I want to start a business, but I have to go to college and I have to get a degree. And I said, no, you actually don't. People just have these ideas of what it takes to get started in business. And, he didn't even know about like network marketing. You can start a network marketing business for less than $50 by law. They have to offer a way for you to get into the business for under $50. This has been this way now for a couple of decades. In the old school network marketing back in the 80s, 90s, it could be very expensive to get into network marketing, but not any longer. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy the bigger packages. There's often huge advantage to doing more than the $50, but you can start a business for under $50. Now, if you want to become a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer, I encourage you go get the degrees, okay? Don't say you're those things, but if you have the gift of making beautiful art, or you have the gift of gab, you have the gift of understanding people, and you're not stepping on the toes of psychologists or other people that need to be licensed. If you have the gift of building something and you have the desire to build things for people, then find a way to do it. You don't have to have a degree. Sometimes you do need to get licenses and so forth. Find out what you need to do, but not everything requires a bachelor's degree or doctorate. So just understand that. Come on in, talk to Leaders League. Join us at 9 a.m. on Mondays and join us for the conversations. And there have been so many good conversations that have led to businesses getting started. Finally, pay attention to who's watching you. Maybe they are your ideal client. Maybe it's time for you to take that leadership role with them, your past self, and help them step forward. Let's take a break. And I'm going to be right back to talk about the sailing loop is not just a destination.
Hey, sail setters, are you ready to jumpstart your entrepreneurial journey or give your business a powerful refresh? Join us at the next and Restart Your Business Summit, where you'll discover the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive. Learn more at joyminder.com. That's JOYMINDER.com, and look for the Restart Your Business Summit icon. Don't miss out. Your future business awaits.
Before we head to shore, there's one more truth every seasoned sailor and thriving entrepreneur knows. In the sailing system, G is not the final port or some static finish line. It's a checkpoint, a chance to celebrate, to give back, and to gear up for an even bigger adventure ahead, or maybe a completely different one. Growth and generosity aren't a one-way journey, they're a loop, a dance with the waves that calls us to keep exploring, serving, and evolving. So let's think about this stage as finally docking in a vibrant new harbor after a long voyage. Now, many of you know, if you've been listening to episodes, that my husband and I have a goal of living on a boat, and we want to experience that. We want to experience it. We're not in it to cross the finish line fast. We don't even know how long we're going to spend doing it. And somebody said, "How do you even know you're going to like it?" I said, I don't. I don't. We have spent quite a bit of time on boats, but we haven't spent months on boats. We haven't spent years on boats. And we don't sail in the ocean because we live in Minnesota. It's a long way away. And that person pointed out, well, maybe it'd be a good idea for you to rent a boat on an ocean and make sure you like it, because I don't even like cruise ships. I don't. But I also know that we don't have to be out in the middle of the ocean. We can stay close to shore, and in doing so, experience more of the beautiful ports and the people and the nature that's along the shore. So, know what you know and know what you don't know. But ports really are what I'm most looking forward to on our journey. It's called the Great Loop from Minnesota. If we come back to Minnesota, which probably will, it's about a 7,000-mile journey. And there are so many great ports. When we've done shorter versions of this, like we've gone from here down to what's called the Quad Cities, it's 4 cities on the Mississippi, quite a ways away. It took us several days to get down there, several days to get back. But we would stop at all the little towns along the way. And one time specifically, in each little town, we would find every antique store, and we were looking for a crystal butter dish. So we had a goal. Every town we went to, we found every antique store and we were looking for the perfect crystal butter dish. And we would find crystal butter dishes that we didn't want. And then we found one that we really wanted, and then it got broken. Oh no. So we had to go find another one. I mean, it sounds so goofy, but having even minor goals like that as you're going along can be really fun. So when you do get to these docks, these ports, you know, be willing to celebrate your victory. Share your treasures, your knowledge, your support, your generosity, and connect with your crew and your fellow voyagers. When we hit docks, when we get to, well, I'm going to back that up. I don't want to hit any docks. I've done that before, and it's really embarrassing. But when you dock your boat gently into the slip and you're there for the evening, there is a life that happens in marinas that is so beautiful. And granted, it happens more on the weekends, when there's more people around, but there's always things happening in marinas. Or if not, there's a little walk into town usually and you can find things. And that's really part of what I'm looking forward to as well. It's not just the travel. It's all the experiences that we'll get to have as well. Ports and marinas are places of celebration. And they're places of preparation, places you can restock, make sure you have your toiletries or the things that you need that you might have run out since the last time that you stopped. It's a place that you can sit and enjoy the peace of the river without having to navigate the river, right? Just this past weekend, I was on at our boat at our marina, sitting out on the dock at 6 o'clock in the morning. The sunshine was just coming up, and it was the most beautiful sunrise. And not only in the sky, but reflecting off of the water. And it was just the perfect environment to just sit and contemplate. And that's what this stage is about as well. Reflect on where you've been, where you're going, make the next plans. Take a look at the weather ahead. Make sure that this is the time to leave or if you need to stay in port for a little bit longer. The next real adventure always beckons beyond the next horizon, even if you change course completely. You know what? That could happen. We could get down into the ocean and just say, you know what? This has been fun, but we don't really want to finish the loop. And if we're okay with that, then we don't. Now, my husband, I think, would say, nope, we're going to start it and we're going to finish it. And I agree. I absolutely intend to start this journey with the intention of finishing it. But if not, it will still be worth what we do, every single bit of it. Growth is kind of like expanding your fleet. At first, you take and you captain just one small ship. Our first boat, my husband had before we even met. It was a 16-foot open bow. It was great. And that's what we had for a couple of years. And then we expanded into a slightly larger boat. And that one had a little bit of a cuddy. That means you can sleep underneath. It was kind of more of a crawl space. You certainly couldn't sit up in bed, but you could get in there and you could sleep and you could be protected from the elements. But it was a bigger boat. And talk about hitting the dock. Yeah, I did it. Nose in, hit it hard. And that was, a little soul crushing at the time because we just put so much money into purchasing this boat and here I am dinging it up like on the first week that we had it. But you learn how to handle things, you learn how to do things, and then you move up to the next big boat. That's what people do. People do it with houses, people do it with boats, people do it in all sorts of ways in their lives. But yeah, now we have a bigger one. Now when we sit up in bed, we can sit up in bed. And it's fun, but it also takes a higher level of skill. Now we have two engines, and how do you turn a boat, and how much time do you need to stop? And there's just other levels of skill that you need at the size boat that we had versus the one that we had before. But there's also a level of respect that has changed. When you're a small boat and a bigger boat is coming at you, it is generally your job to get out of the way, understanding that that big boat can't just stop. When I talk about big boats, let's talk about barges because that would be like getting in front of a train. You just can't do it. You have to allow for the barge to get by. So you start with what you've got. You can expand and grow your skills and move up in size over time. And over time, with each journey that you complete, you equip yourself and others by mentoring new sailors, by launching fresh vessels, expanding your locations if you're a pizzeria or something, and helping chart new routes for everyone. And generosity is really sharing your maps and your provisions. And generosity is so much a part of this stage. Be generous. Understand that everything you have is because other people went before you, that you gained experience. Maybe it's from this podcast. Maybe it's from other sources and resources. Maybe it's from coaches you've met through Joyminder, not through Joyminder, wherever it is. But people have been generous with you. Turn that around and be generous with others. You can warn other people of dangers coming, of the squalls of life, if you will. Celebrate their safe landings, help them provision, show what's possible when they dare to set sail. And after all, isn't that what I'm doing here with you on this podcast? So make the sailing system a lifelong voyage. Anytime you reach this level, the G level, whether it's your first big client or reaching a personal milestone or stepping up as a mentor, celebrate your wins, reflect on everything you've learned, and ask yourself, what's next? Do I optimize? Do I diversify? Do I support others? Do I plot a new course? Do I step back? Do I end? Do I start something new? Remember that every new opportunity, challenge, or ambition is an invitation to loop back. Revisit your vision. Go back to the letter S. Set your course. Check your preparation. Anchor your readiness. That's S and A all over again. And rekindle your courage. Ignite your commitment. Talk to the people around you and move forward again. So just because you reached G often means you may go back all the way to S or A or I in the sailing system again. And in this way, G is your launch pad and your invitation to start the cycle again with greater wisdom, new resources, or maybe a bigger crew beside you. When you arrive at G, grow and guide forward. It's like pulling into a bright new port on an epic adventure. And by the way, Bahamas, New Orleans, Nashville, St. Louis. I'm kind of going backwards here, but New York. There's so many ports that I'm looking forward to hitting. Those are the big ones, but there's also little ones. Locally in Minnesota, I can think of Red Wing and Hastings and La Crosse, Wisconsin, and on down. There's little ports too. And I wouldn't say that any of them are more or less than the others. Quite frankly, we'll see more in some of the little ports than we will in the big ones. But it's like pulling into a bright new port after an epic adventure at sea or lake or river. You unload your treasures, you share your tales, you gather with fellow sailors. But the magic of entrepreneurship and the sailing system is that there's always another ocean to chart, always another path that you can take, another sailor to encourage, another dream waiting beyond the horizon. So celebrate, refuel, and get ready. Your next expedition awaits. Maybe it's on land next time. And this time, you sail not just for yourself, but to help a whole fleet set off for new lands. So let me offer this bit of encouragement as we wrap up. Whether it's your first voyage or your 10th, the sailing system is your compass for every new horizon. So thank you for journeying with me through the Sailing System series on Beyond the Business Plan. If today's episode inspired you, be sure to check the show notes for more ways to keep growing, including special guest conversations and resources. Remember that every finish line is really a new starting port. So keep hoisting your sails, leading with heart, and bringing the light of generosity wherever you go. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off for now, but always cheering you on to keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, coffee aficionados and entrepreneurs, LeAnn Lyon here. Are you craving that caffeine kick, but looking for a healthier alternative? Well, 9 years ago, I discovered the ultimate collection of energizing options to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit without the jitters. Discover your next favorite pick-me-up today and keep your business dreams brewing strong. Hear what it did for me by visiting this website, whyilovemycoffee.com. Yes, that's the URL, whyilovemycoffee.com, because your peak performance deserves more than just another cup of joe. Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, leannlyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success.